All right, in this video, we're going to be going over freeCodeCamp's Build a Recipe Page walkthrough, right? We're going to be going from start to finish, and we will have these things chaptered out here for you. And if you're new to the channel, my name's Rob. I'm with freeCodeCamp. I'm an coding instructor. I try to help those that are looking to code, get into development. And sometimes when you're trying to learn these things on your own, you may get stuck on a certain step or not know how to proceed. So that's what this video is for. So if you're ready to get started, let's go ahead and dive into this lab. All right, so this is the building a recipe page. And what makes this a little bit different compared to what you may have been used to with the lecture version of freeCodeCamp is that these aren't steps that are built out for you. However, they are in chronological order on how you would approach this in order to build this web page out. And so it gives us user stories, and we can see that right here. And our user stories go all the way down to 11. However, there's a lot of meat and potatoes that go along with some of these. And that's what makes this part a little more difficult because there's not step by step. However, we are given things down here for unit testing purposes. And again, you can add a line of code and come down here and check it to see if you got it correct. What I typically have been doing is just going through the entire thing and then checking it at the end and correcting any mistakes from there. That's the way that I'm going to approach this one. Now, everything that we are going through as far as user stories, I'm also going to add in a little bit of teaching points from a learner's perspective on how would we approach this. And maybe you won't need these videos in the future, but they're going to be here for you if you do. Kind of thing. The very first step here, it says we need to have a doc-type HTML declaration. And again, if you don't know anything, and one of the great resources out there is to look at W3 schools. And the reason that I bring this up is you can go ahead in there and go to Google and you can type in doc-type W3 schools, and this should automatically pop up here for you. And you can see what it is looking for. You can even read some of the documentation that it has. They have examples. And you can see right here that this is what we're actually needing, but you can go ahead and further scroll down the screen and read what it is talking about. And it's basically saying, hey, this declaration, it's not an HTML tag, it's just information for the browser to see what document to expect when it's trying to load. And in this case here, it's an HTML5. And you can also scroll down here to see what it looked like before with HTML4 and XHTML 1.1. And then down here, tips and tricks. Like, it doesn't matter as far as the case goes. It just matters that you have the doc type and then you're specifying the HTML. So anyways, W3 Schools, really great resource when it comes to trying to get a little bit more out of freeCodeCamp. And that's something that you would have gotten in a normal classroom type of setting. I did want to bring up this part here. All right, so let's go back to the recipe here. And I do want to give a little bit of an example of what is going to be built out here. And this is the recipe that we're trying to build. All right, back to the doc type. Let's go ahead and put that in here. That should satisfy us for this user story number 1. And real quick addition to our page, we're not going to see anything. And again, there's no closing tag. It's not a tag itself, right? So anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next user story. So user story number 2, it tells us that we need to have an HTML element. We're going to set an attribute of the language and we're going to assign it the English. The way that this is going to work, this is going to be one of our very first open and close tags, and this is the start of our HTML document. So I'm going to go ahead and close it off here. And where does the attributes go? They always go in the beginning tag when it comes to any of these things that we want to apply attributes for. So it never goes at the end tag, but it goes right here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to set that to English. So that should satisfy number 2. And again, I went ahead and moved that closing tag to line number 3 for now. So everything is going to be encapsulated in that HTML tag. Next, it says that in our head section, we need to have a title element and an element on here, and we need to set the character set to UTF-8. So a lot of bits and pieces put in here. When we have an HTML tag, we typically divide that up into a head section, and then we have a body. There's no tail, but we have a head section and a body. And so that's the next thing in our skeleton structure that we're going to be doing here for this boilerplate type of development. The next thing is going to be head. And again, we're going to put closing tags on here as well. Now, when it comes to things such as the title, that's going to be open and close. And it doesn't specify what title we should use. And if we were looking at the examples, this one was chocolate chip cookies. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and grab here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and I'm going to bring that in over here. But I'm going to go ahead and put it in the title section by opening and closing these tags. And inside here, that's where I'm going to go ahead and paste. So that check marked our title element. And then the other part here is the meta tag. And again, if we are not remembering what does the meta tag look like, is it opening and closing tags? What can go inside here? How can I set the character set to UTF-8? Are there any examples that we can go from? That's where I would highly suggest, again, W3 Schools, a great place to look. And you can just do a Google search, meta tag W3 Schools, and you'll be presented with something like this. And do we see any examples in here of F-8? And we do. It's right here. As a matter of fact, we can go ahead and copy this and bring this into our own. Now, I would encourage you to do a little bit of further exploration, and it might be minutia to you, but it might be beneficial to understand what does the character set do. And you can come down here, W3 Schools. Again, really great for providing us with information. Specifies the character encoding for the HTML document. So again, we're always trying to learn from what we're putting in here instead of just, hey, let's go ahead and put it in here and pray that it works and pray that it gets us where we need, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to be smart. And again, the order really doesn't matter for the testing purposes, but typically you'll see the meta tags to be above the title. So we can go ahead and put that there. All right, I believe that will complete us for user story number 3. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next. User story number 4 with building a recipe page for freeCodeCamp. It tells us that we need to have a body element. Where does the body go? The body follows the head, and that's where we're going to put this one here. So again, this one's really quick. We're just going to do body and then give us a little bit of room here, and then we're going to close off the body there. And that should give us the check mark for number 4. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next user story. All right, so user story number 5, it says it should have an H1 element with the name of the recipe. And this is going to be another one of those tags that are going to be open and close. That's a heading tag. It's an H1 element. And if you remember from the lectures of freeCodeCamp that we only want to ever have one H1 on our entire page, that kind of goes over what's the main idea, concept of this page. And so I'm just going to go ahead and do an H1, and then I'm going to go ahead and make a closing one. And again, these tags, they will have to match H1. And then what goes in between is going to be our title or our main concept here for our recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And anything that goes inside the body is going to show up on the page. Notice that none of this stuff right here showed up on the page. However, if we were creating this and had our own tabbed version of this, you would see that chocolate chip cookies would be in the tab. That's where we would actually physically see the title. But that should check us for user story number 5. And let's go ahead and move on to the next one here. User story number 6, it tells us that we should have a paragraph element that introduces the recipe below the H1. Now again, these unit tests aren't going to care what you type in here, but I am going to utilize their example on what they give for their paragraph that they have right underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. And then I'm going to come back over here to our H1 and I'm going to go right below it. And that's where I'm going to do my opening and closing tags for the paragraph. And paragraph tags are labeled with the P. And then I'm just going to go ahead and paste what I have on my clipboard. That should make us good to go for the next user story. User story number 7 with build a recipe page for freeCodeCamp. It says that we should have an H2 element with the text ingredients for the ingredients section. Now, this is part of the unit testing. When they are giving us the word here, we have to use the words in order for us to get a green check mark here for us to use. So let's go ahead and complete this here. So underneath this part, we want to go ahead and add the ingredients, but we want the H2 to be the tag. So again, I'm just doing opening and closing tags, and then you can copy the ingredients here and then paste it right here. And again, that is going to give us the check mark saying that we passed that user story test. So make sure that you are using this one spelled exactly how they give it. Otherwise, it will throw an error for you when you go and check it with the tests. All right, moving on to the next. All right, so user story number 8 here, it says that we should have an unordered list element with at least 4 list items. And these list items are going to be ingredients that should be below our H2 element. All right, I will say this, that you could put anything in between these as far as bullet points go. So if I take a look at the ingredients, it wants at least 4. So we can either type gibberish for all of these and it would still pass the test, or we can use something like this and we can just grab 4 of them. I'll go ahead and grab these 4. And with the unordered list, if we take a look at W3 schools, and we can go ahead and scroll down here, and they're all in alphabetical order. And if we come down here to the unordered list, which is the ULs, we can get an idea of what does it mean to have an unordered list. And you can see here we have an unordered list, and then each item itself, it needs to have an wrapped around the text in order for this to work. Okay, so back to our recipe builder, and I'm going to go ahead and start off with the UL for the unordered list, give myself some room, and then I'm going to close off the unordered list. Next, I'm going to go ahead and paste what is on my clipboard here, and we can see that if we look at the preview here, that does not look like an unordered list. Matter of fact, it doesn't even look like it's in the right place. I mistakenly put it there. So let me go ahead and get rid of this and move it under the ingredients. Okay. And so the idea or the concept on this is each one of these ingredients is going to need to have an wrapped around it. Okay. And I'm just tabbing over to give some space here. So on each one of these, I need to have and then I need to have a closing on each one of these. Okay. And you can already see that I already have my very first bullet point. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here, and I'm going to complete these on each side. And obviously, if you want to speed your stuff up, you can go ahead and do a real quick copy and paste and put them all in. But I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and then come back and show you the results. All right, so this is what mine looked like all tabbed out. Again, we just have the LIs. They are wrapping each one of these, and we got the nice bullet points that we see over here. If you are running into the next row and that bothers you, I did move this line over here. You can move this back and forth, but you can see that sometimes it doesn't look great when you're doing your coding. But if you go ahead and move this around just a little bit, your LIs will fit and look a little bit nicer on your screen while you are developing. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next user story. Next on here is user story number 9. It says, let's go ahead and add a secondary H2 element, and this is going to be instructions. If we take a look at the preview that they give us, it's right underneath all of those bullet points that they originally gave us. Okay. Let's go ahead and do this user story. So I'm going to come down here. Again, I'm going to give myself just a little bit of space to separate some of these just for visual learning as we go through this. But it's asking for another H2. And again, just doing a closing tags of the H2. Instead of ingredients, I do need to make sure that this says instructions verbatim, because the unit test is going to look for the spelling, the correct spelling of instructions. All right, that looks good. Moving on to the next. User story number 10. It says you should have an ordered list, which is the element, and with at least 4 list items for the recipe to give us steps. And this needs to be below the H2 that we just got done creating. All right, lots of things that are put in here, and we may need to utilize W3 schools, again, learning this, going through this. And if I take a look at the OL tag on W3 schools, we can kind of see that This looks almost exactly like the unordered list. The only difference is the OL. Notice that, again, just by doing a little bit of research, you may not have known that, hey, I can have a start point of 50 instead of starting at 1. Again, ordered lists, they can be numeric, Roman numerals, right? You can apply a reversed effect on here as well. But if we click the little try it yourself, and this will pop up over here so you can actually see what's going on. And OLs are great for showing steps, recipe building, a great little exercise that freeCodeCamp is giving you guys with having an unordered list as well as an ordered list to get you thinking about both of those types of lists. Again, it needs us to have just 4 of them. We can see that we have the instructions here. I'm going to go ahead and grab just 4 of these, just like I did before, and then I'm going to apply them to just below my instructions here. So again, we're going to utilize the this time. So it's going to be OL, and then I'm going to put a closing tag on here of ordered list. And inside here, I'm just going to go ahead and paste what's on here. And now I'm just going to wrap each one of these with an LI, and it's automatically going to put those numberings on here. So I'm going to do, and then I'm going to come over here and close off the step here. So each one of these steps is going to get their own individual. And based on the screen size here, I don't think I can go much further over. It's just going to have to wrap with the text. But I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here and wrap each one of these to show you what it does look like. All right, I am back here. They're all done. Let me go ahead and move the little circle here so we can see. But the instructions are now labeled with step by step, and 1 through 4, I believe that checks the box there. And then one of the things that I did want to bring to your attention is I did add like a carriage return. So I'm skipping a line, and that's just for organization. It has no effect on how it displays on the web page, but just makes it a little bit easier on the eyes to make sure that we did in fact get 4, just looking at the code only. That should check the box for adding that ordered list, and let's see what we have to do next. So this is our last user story, which is number 11. It says you should have 1 image element with the source attribute set to the image that we have below. So freeCodeCamp supplies us with an image. I'm going to go ahead and copy that to my clipboard, and it says if you'd like to use an alt attribute, you can use that to describe the image. Again, we can come down here, and this is going to be after the ordered list closure. And I'm just going to go ahead and add an image tag, and we want to set the source attribute, and we want to set that to whatever they gave us. And then I'm going to go ahead and close it off here with a simple greater than sign. Now, image tags, they are self-closure. They're void elements. They don't need anything else on there. And then as far as the alt attribute here, we can just set this to ingredients, and that should satisfy user story number 11. So let's go ahead and test these results out. Let's go ahead and run the test, and it looks like we got a 100% complete. All right, that does it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something from it. And if you like these types of videos, please make sure that you let us know in the comments, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.